riding on board with Kyle Benson, currently your race leader. I think, unfortunately for us, we had been practically off stream the entire time, or off of the broadcast, so apologies for that. We just had 20 laps of racing. We've had just about 2 yellows and had a recent incident with Ryan Steenbacher's going to the inside of the wall, so apologies for that. We presumed that we were live the entire time. We were so far having a decent race, but Kyle Benson has shot up to the race lead. He currently leads the field by a second flat over Craig Launslager currently for that second spot. So unfortunate for us that at least we didn't notice that it was not live just yet, but we've had our first 21 laps of racing. So far, fairly clean. A lot of drivers with incidents basically getting loose in their race cars. That's been the big theme here for a lot of the cautions we've seen tonight. Only 2 of them. And we're hoping that we don't see any more over the course of this race. Top 3 have brought themselves out. It's 1.4 seconds from first to third, but it is 5 seconds flat from first to fifth, or first to fourth rather. So it is a longer battle here for Richard Rico, who has just stepped into the top 5 after staying out on the initial restart after our first caution on lap number 2. There's Tyler Murray, who started up the field. See him way loose, trying to keep his race car straight. Indeed he does, and he also did fix that damage to the right front. There was some crinkles there on his bumper there to open this race, but he had just fixed it up down pit road, luckily. And since they have all gone down, Tyler Warner, who started at the dead end of this field, he has already caught up to 6th, so some good placements, some good movements, and strategies for the 33 have kept him now in the fight and now has put him up here for a good chance to grab a lot of these points. And we talked about earlier at the top of the show when we did go live exactly what the point situation was looking like, with James Holzer currently leading 16 points over this driver right here, the 4 of Kyle Benson. And with James Holzer missing tonight, only 13 drivers starting this race, it will be a fantastic opportunity for Roman Long to take away not only his first win of the season, but have a shot to take over the points lead coming out of New Hampshire going for the rest of this season. So that could be a very good step forward for the driver of the 4. As the 13, Alonsager, who was sitting in second, has just gone around, has locked up the brakes. Will we see a yellow flag? Yes, we will. For the first 24 laps of this race, 3rd caution is thrown for Craig Launslager, who spins off turn 2. But luckily for him, he picks up no damage. I think the only damage that he'll acquire will go to the tires there, as we'll try to take a look. He saw it there barely in the camera shot off the back straightaway, and it was Launslager who was stepping off turn 2 with Nicholas Vizzuti to follow suit. He's been using that banking pretty much this entire race, and I think the tires wore out just a little bit. And the car did not like that change whatsoever, as Launslager was able to merge back, and nobody got into him, so it's another single car incident. Saw it the same there with Ryan Steenbacher's early in this race, who that's why he has stepped to the top 10, and he was all the way to the rear of the field at that point. There were no cars under the lead lap, as Launslager will follow Roman Long, Christopher Bishop, Ricky Rosner behind him down pit road, which means everybody else is down pit road. And this is, again, another caution where the general consensus has been 4 tires and fuel to get up. They're using these cautions to their advantages. Remember, there are no tire sets for this series, so it doesn't matter how much tires you can get. Theoretically, you can go down every single lap and you can get 4 fresh Goodyear rubbers. And the best thing about sim racing, they don't have to pay for any of it, so the good news is you can get as many tires as you want without having to worry about a big hit to the paycheck. Kyle Benson out of pit road first with the Ford Mustang of Vizzuti to follow suit. Richard Rico will come out 3rd, so a good step for him, as Murray will be 4th, and Launslager had spent some time on pit road, and indeed he is spending a lot more time off pit road. Now he's going to finally drop the jacks and go away for 8th off pit road. Seems as though nobody has stayed out, so Benson should be your race leader this time by, or at least the next time by, when we head over to the restart. Have our driver that has gone 1 lap down, that has been Jaden Gibble. He went 2 laps down, considering the fact that he was a big damage race car involved in one of the cautions where he got collected with Brandon Gillis. And he has picked up his fast repair, but now he's going to hammer on the brakes to pit road just shortly there. And for now, he'll stay in his place. So up in our first 27 laps of this evening, it has been fairly longer race considering the yellows we've had so far. It's 189 laps, 189 miles around the Magic Mile. And for one, still a very long race till we get to the end. Haven't talked about pitch strategy because we've had not a chance to talk about it. We've been under green for only a short amount of time before we inevitably get a yellow, and then we just follow the same pattern so far this race. And compare that to what we saw at the Daytona road course last week. No yellows considering it was a road course. There were some incidents. A lot of drivers separated. And tonight has been way on the opposite end. A lot more yellows, as we believe we might get the 1 to green signal this time by. Indeed we do. So lap 29 will belong to another restart here, as it'll be again 2 Ford Mustangs to lead this field, and it'll be the first 2, funny enough, that started in the first row in this field. Although Vizzuti on the inside, Benson on the outside, but Benson was able to take the lead on lap 1 because of his start to the outside. So now they'll be flip-flopped in the first row, then look back to the second row where you'll find Richard Rico, Tyler Murray off pit road, Christopher Bishop, and Ricky Rosner, your row number 3, before you get to Tyler Warner and Craig Lonsarger, driver who just spun out of the racetrack to bring out this recent yellow. He currently sits 8th with Roman Long and Pete Bruning rounding out your top 10 and 13 drivers so far. The 4 Wide Racing League from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. On to turn 3 and 4. Will be the final time until this next restart. iRacing official pace car will make its left to the safety of pit road. 2 Ford Mustangs flip-flop first row from the start of this race, and we're back under green from the Magic Mile. And a big jump for Kyle Benson once again to nab away the race lead. Vizzuti will have to hold on to second as they are still fighting for that 3rd spot. We've seen it a handful of times tonight where we have seen drivers elect to stay to the bottom, elect to stay to the top, and they have been fairly even, but the win will go to Murray on this end, so he'll slip in a 3rd, and Rico will have to work for 4th. There have been some battles brewing, though, throughout the top 10. Roman Long, who was involved in one of the first incidents tonight, got his fast repair, so he's in a relatively clean Chevrolet Camaro, and now in a fist fight with the 79 Steenbachers as you're riding on board with the driver of the 42, Christopher Bishop, who has a full-fledged view of this one. You see Ricky Rosner slow out of turn 2, and I really checked up the 14 along as they might almost be 3 wide. Now having to be on the brakes, staying on the throttle. Do not want to be in a situation like that to set yourself into trouble and bring out yet again another yellow. That's what the 42 has been looking at so far. So it is cleared up for the most part. Rosner just a little bit slow, and now he will have to settle in for 8th. Lost that position to Steenbachers that time by, as Long and Bishop might be in a battle fairly soon. But for now, the race lead is still decided. I believe the top 5 have been spread out single file. Vizzuti going into this race at kind of a hole within the top 15 in points, has not necessarily had a lot of good luck to go with him, and obviously has yet to pick up a win so far this season. If you're looking for anybody with a race win so far in this season, the only driver to pick up a race win so far in this 2021 season has been that 33 of Tyler Warner, and not only did he win 1 race of the season, he won the opening race of the season at Daytona and took the checkered flag in the dramatic final lap dash with a handful of cars trying to battle for position. So he's the only driver currently sitting in this field, in this race, with at least 1 win in this season. So nobody else has picked up a win, so we could be at a high chance of seeing a first-time winner so far tonight. As things have been fairly calm for the moment. You see Vizzuti using the track all the way up to the top. Seems as though he does not want to go anywhere else. That's where he's finding the most grip, and that may be the best place to go to save some tires. We haven't seen a long run per se, so not necessarily putting that into the equation, but we might see that come into play later in the event should we get long green flag runs, which we have not seen tonight. So I could also provide a new factor. And also being the first short track we see this season, how many times you'll see the first short track be New Hampshire out of all places? You usually see them more at Phoenix, Bristol, a lot of other short tracks, Dover, Martinsville. A lot of those places seem to hold in most seasons, in most leagues, first short track race of the season to introduce the drivers to a first short track in this competition format. But for the 4 Wide Racing League, it happened to be New Hampshire, and the next one we'll have to find out in just about 2 weeks' time. We'll have to find Iowa on March 17th. That's the next short track we have before we actually go 2 in a row on the short track with Martinsville the week after for race 9. And that will be following that pursuit. So right now, you see riding on board from the rear end of the Ford Mustang, Kyle Benson. He has got the lead by just under a second. He actually continues to pull away, so it probably will go over at least a second for now. There's only been 4 winners in this series, and only one of them stands in this race, currently sitting in the top 5. As now everybody now stays single file for the most part. It is maintaining that conservatism, and it could also provide our first long green flag run of the evening. We might end up seeing it. However, we have had drivers get under yellow for single car incidents, mostly just getting loose on the track and just spinning around. And we saw that with our recent yellow. It was Craig Lautenslager who got there first, and it was necessarily him going around that brought out the yellow flag. So indeed for him. And speaking of yellow flags, another one will come out here on lap number 37, and we'll try to find out who that might be. And I believe in Ricky Rosner, who's slow on the racetrack. We'll have to see exactly whether that 43 John Deere machine got in any trouble. We'll look and see exactly if it was the case. Indeed it was, going out of turn 4. And again, I was mentioning it, single car incidents off turn 4 or off turn 2, just getting loose in the race car. And it's saying again, same incident for the 43 of Rosner as he was diving to turn 1. You're right on board as the car just steps out here on the banking. I haven't seen much drivers use all the way to the flat bottom. You see, just trying to maintain that throttle. I think he might have went down a gear there, and you see him going down all the way to first to get the thing slowed down, be all the way in the brakes. And talked about it when we were under pace laps. The low downforce mixed with the high power underneath the hood has not been a good combination for cars with a lot of grip in the flat banking. Has definitely been a lot of fun to see the drivers control the throttle and modulate it as they've been rolling through the corners. So everybody else, again, going down pit road, we seem to follow the same sort of strategy, go about 10 laps, possibly under green flag before we see a yellow, mostly due to a single car incident. And then after everybody goes down pit road to get 4 fresh tires, and that should be the knowledgeable call there, as I believe one driver missed his pit stall. That was the 17 of Richard Rico. He stepped out just a little bit, so had to shift in reverse and get that car set back up. But you're seeing 4 tires all on every single car, but it will be the battle off pit road. Will Vizzuti get it out? No, he will not. Kyle Benson will take it back, so a fair fight off pit road, and another fight that will land Tyler Murray into 3rd, and Tyler Warner steps into 4th, so he does gain a position over 17 of Richard Rico for the top 5. So for now, under yet again another yellow here in New Hampshire. It has not necessarily been the easiest evening for that counter racing, at least, as we'll have one driver stay out. That's Brandon Gillis. However, he's 1 lap down, so for the moment, he will be sure to get the wave around and be back on the lead lap all the way at the tail end of the field. Saw him get into an incident earlier today, and that is the reason why his car is clean right now. He has taken that fast repair, and he will have none left for the rest of this event. So for now, we seem to be okay. Everybody scrambling into pit road. Not necessarily any risky moves we've seen so far, and other drivers have elected to turn on the jets and maybe try something aggressive for the moment. Still very early in this race, 149 laps out of this one, so there's still a long way to go before we even get close to the ending of this event. I currently calculated about 1 hour 16 before we get to the finish. Especially with the amount of cautions we've had tonight, has slowed the action down a good bit. And we'll see exactly what follows suit. And what will be an even bigger challenge for the drivers of the 4Wide Racing League when we step into the next race of the season. We will go to the biggest and baddest track of them all, Talladega Super Speedway, our second Super Speedway race of the entire season, following our season opener at Daytona, and that will be next Wednesday. Coverage at 9:10 p.m. Eastern right here on MaxSpeedTV, and it'll be our second trip to a Super Speedway, and the first one that is not the season opener in Talladega, one of the more treacherous tracks, but still having to fight this short track in the Magic Mile. Have not seen the magic step for anybody yet. So take a look at the field doubled up behind the iRacing official pace car as we'll get a restart on lap number 42. Kyle Benson and Nicholas Vizzuti will be your first row once again. Tyler Murray and Tyler Warner, 2 Tylers and 2 Chevrolet Camaros. We'll look at row number 2 with Richard Rico and Clay Lownsager, 2 Toyota Camrys to round out your row number 3. Christopher Bishop and Ryan Steenbachers, your row number 4 to the top 8. Roman Long, Ricky Rosner, row number 5 to your top 10. We'll take a look once again at another restart on lap number 42 of 189. Quick start though for Kyle Benson to bring us back under green as the green flag flies once again here way before the midway portion of this race, still in the opening segments. Benson off to a decent start into the banking, gonna try to manage that throttle as he steps out of turn 2, but he will be solid off and away by just a half a second now over Nicholas Vizzuti. Murray and Warner have been eyeing in for that second spot, and now everybody's scrambled in as they get off turn 4 once again. And right now, if you're tuned into the 4Wide Racing League, there is another race currently going on the iRacing platform that has gained a lot of traction, has been one of the biggest events, and maybe what we're competing against, well, not per se, but probably one that we are certainly next to at the same time. And right now on lap number 121 of 200, it is the Car Anomaly 500 using the old NASCAR Car of Tomorrow cars, the unrestricted ones that can go up to about 240 plus miles per hour and go into the high banks of the Daytona International Speedway. A lot of drivers in that one, including Kyle Busch, a lot of eNASCAR veterans, eNASCAR drivers, Graham Bolin, Colin Keister, Brandon Kittel, Nick Ottinger, who got into an incident in the opening 20 laps of that event. There's a lot of events going on. That currently sits as they continue to roll into the race, and they're starting to file into the final home stretch of that event, and we are still a long way out from this one. So if you're watching this one, of course, you can be sure to tune in to eraser_GG on Twitch. We have these two right alongside each other as you're looking for both sim racing action here on Wednesday night. As you see a lap car just up the road, and that is Pete Bruni. He is currently sitting 12th. It seems as though Brandon Gillis did not get his lap back or did not get the wave around, so he has been trapped a lap down ever since, maybe looking for a yellow flag in order to get it back. Pete Bruni with some significant damage has been out, and with that damage, since the wreck that brought him there and almost went flying off the exit of turn 4, had a hard hit to the outside wall along with Roman Long in an incident where the 08 got loose to the bottom of the track, and he swerved right back into Roman Long, and that proceeded to cause a big wreck to open ourselves with a yellow. But up front, which is not too far behind this car right here in the tail end of the lead lap, we have a battle for the lead. Nicholas Vizzuti has ducked in low off turn 2. He does not get the run into turn 4, but that has slowed up the 08. The 4 of Kyle Benson has slowed him up a little bit, so will help Vizzuti in terms of getting that run. You see, just lower to the racetrack, and a very different line from what Vizzuti was running earlier in this race. He was running all the way to the top in that darker shade of concrete on this racetrack, and now Benson will do the favor, though. Both actually go up the track to get a run off the corner. Benson using the grip to go down low, and he'll secure the lead as Vizzuti currently tries to hold him in and reel him in now for the race lead. Riding on board with Vizzuti, you see his entrance into turn 3, hard on the brakes, and then trying to go with the throttle, maybe using a diamond approach into turns 3 and 4. And that's something you may have to utilize here with the flat banking. You have to improvise as to where you will put your car in the corners, whether you want to roll the center, roll the outside in one of these corners, you want to roll up the top of the track, you want to get an exit to the bottom. How much will you sacrifice on the tires, or what kind of line will you use in order to gain as much speed as possible, or try to develop a rhythm? And we've currently been 10 laps on our stint, so it's been 10 laps since our yellow flag, or at least our most recent yellow flag. I don't believe we know exactly what the fuel window is, but we could imagine that it's fairly long from now, which probably won't give the drivers any significance to the fact that we will go down pit road if we stay green. See a battle brewing up maybe for the inside or outside of the top 5. Craig Lownsager has found his way in with a little bit of damage to the right rear of his Toyota Camry, the driver who has led a couple of laps so far tonight. He has currently led 13 laps, same number as his car, 13, when he stayed out in one of the opening yellows and led a good portion of the race, pulled away from everybody behind before another yellow bunched everybody together and pulled him back through the field. But he has currently done a swell job of keeping himself in the fight, and now maybe preying on the 33 right ahead of him of Tyler Warner. So for Lounge Soccer, it has been a relatively clean race, relatively solid race, as he continues to reel him in, and Richard Rico is also holding control of that 6th position. So not necessarily any battles on the track right now. We did have one for the lead, but it did spread out to about half a second, so we could probably see Kyle Benson have an opportunity on the older tires to pull away, and we haven't yet to see anybody on older tires get their speed. And that's also the dynamicness of this track, because at that point, if you're on older tires, you can be a lot faster, but it probably won't last long. Yellow flag, lap 52 of 189. And I believe another single car incident with the driver of the 14 this time, Roman Long. Has not had a bright start to this 2021 season and has slowed the car down on the exit of turn 4. I believe that's where it all began. We'll take a replay, find out where it all started, and I believe it might have been help. This is battling with Jaden Gimbel. This is battle for, I believe, about the 10th position. I'm not sure whether he got help or whether the car did get loose, and actually it was this time help from Gimbel as he sent the 14 around, and then backing up into the inside wall, the 14 goes. And not the prettiest of ways to spin on the track, as you see the 12 of Gimbel just gets into him. You'll take a look through the cockpit as he rides into turn 3 and 4. Here it is. See now washing up the track, then bam, right into the quarter panel of the 14. Nowhere to go but to just hook him around, and then Roman Long, with the worst luck out of it, gets that damage. But it may not affect him too much, as he currently sits 10th out of everybody on the track. They'll stay out, but meanwhile, everybody else will elect to be on the other side of the wall. They'll stay in, or they'll actually head in. Benson and Vizzuti will be the first two to lead in the first 2 pit boxes of this field. And again, they'll elect to take 4 tires and fuel. It's necessarily been the same pattern we've seen since the drop of the green flag. Not necessarily any different, so that's probably what we're going to see. Actually different this time for Tyler Murray. He stays out, or actually decides maybe to go for 2 tires on pit road. A differing strategy call for Tyler Murray. Sets him out of the front of the field. What an interesting call there for Murray, who I believe was tired of sitting in 3rd and decided he wanted a little bit more on this next restart, and especially considering the fact that there have been a lot of yellows so far in this race. He could easily hope for another one if his tires fall off too quickly. There's Gillis and Long going down pit road. So Tyler Murray will be your race leader, but the battle off pit road even gets sweeter. Vizzuti had picked that position over Benson, so now Benson will have to start at the inside of row 2. And that will be where he begins this race, or at least this next restart, which maybe could come at about lap number 57, as we're currently still under the lights onto the pace car for, yet again, another yellow flag so far. We'll take a look at our race summary. We've had 135 laps to go. We've had 5 cautions, 16 caution laps. We've had 5 lead changes. A lot of those have happened under pit road circumstances, or under yellow. Not necessarily have happened under green. There's only been just a handful that have belonged to the green flag condition category, but not many of them, as they have mostly resulted in yellow flags. As we currently sit atop of the Magic Mile, we currently watch Tyler Murray leading this field, and he will be the next one to lead us down, as we'll bring ourselves to, yet again, another restart on lap number, which should be lap number 57 out of 189, and we are still very, very long from the end of this race. And it could be a chance for a first-time winner to emerge from the fold, and yet again be another driver to win in the 2021 4-Wide Cup Series. We've seen about 5 different winners. Only repeat winner has been James Holzer, driver of the 88, who won at Texas and won at Auto Club. Everybody else has picked up a win elsewhere, and a lot of them not showing up here tonight. The only remember just mentioned earlier, the only driver who has picked up a race win so far tonight in this season that currently runs within the 13 cars that started this race, it is that driver in the outside of row number 2, Tyler Warner, in the 33. In Hills, Sylvania LED car, a bright orange and yellow scheme, as another orange and yellow and blue scheme. High Life Sports number 8 of Tyler Murray will lead us back to the green flag. Restart lap number 57, and a good jump by the Chevrolet Camaro. Not enough to necessarily barrel the field down, but good enough to arc himself back to turn 1. Benson with a decent restart as well. He's already looked inside for second, so they are now battling as maybe Vizzuti will peek his nose in for second. Benson not enough grip all the way to the bottom flat of the racetrack. They are toe-to-toe for the race lead. Vizzuti with a head out front. Back to turn 3, he'll dive it back in, and new race leader, the driver who started on the pole, Vizzuti, back out front at turn 4. Battle for third now emerges. Benson will get by Warner. They were within each other. In a 3 and 4, you see them using all the way to the outside wall. Maybe now Launsager will peak for position as a part of that, but Vizzuti now ahead of the field, and again another lead change to begin this race. Our 6th lead change of the evening comes right at that restart, lap 58. And we'll see how this fares. 4 laps out of the pit cycle, and we haven't seen pretty much any sort of run that has lasted more than about 15 laps. So I don't think we've necessarily seen the effects of tire wear at a track like this, but when you go to a track like Phoenix, where the track temp is certainly much hotter than here in New Hampshire in the Northeast, it's much cooler even during the summer months. Over at Phoenix, you can get as high as 140 degrees of track temp, and maybe you can get even higher in real life, but 140 seems to be the benchmark limit for iRacing, as you can only put the weather to 90 degrees air temp, which will obviously affect the way the drivers handle the temp during the middle of the day on the racetrack, and it'll certainly affect the way the cars handle under the tires. And at places like Phoenix, the track can get very hot, and you can easily tell how the drivers have maneuvered it around, at least try to put in throttle, and the cars just do not want to respond. They get very loose off the corner, and that's necessarily what we've been seeing here tonight at New Hampshire. Hasn't necessarily been the same case for a lot of drivers. It's actually maybe 2 of them might have had that issue. Murray, and I believe one driver back there, Richard Rico, had fallen into the same hands, as we have a 3-car train from about 3rd on back. This is the battle for the top 5. Almost shook up the track for the 13 Launsager, but he will take over position neatly in a textbook move for Tyler Warner, so he'll go back to the inside, take away that 4th spot, and maybe scramble his way back to the lead, where he did lead a good chunk of this opening segment. So now we haven't necessarily seen the effects of the tire wear. I haven't seen any drivers really step their cars out too sideways. And for the most part, we haven't seen anybody with long run speed, considering the fact that they haven't been able to showcase that long run speed just yet, due to the fact that we haven't been as many laps under green in a row. We currently ride with 2 drivers under 1 lap down, and that will sit as Ryan Steenbacher and Brandon Gillis. They remember 13 drivers to start this race, so not a large field by any stretch of the imagination. As there's Christopher Bishop, who currently sits 9th. He's been eyeing down, but no change for position here if he does get by, as Bishop currently sits 9th on the lead lap. He is the 3rd to last car to be on that lead lap. Saw Pete Bruni, I believe, go a lap down, and he has got damage to the front end of his race car, and saw the front clip completely torn off. I'm not sure where he might have acquired this from, but with the damage and not necessarily how rough it's been so far tonight, he will surely maybe go 1 lap down, and that will possibly put him into the lucky dog position. But that will enable Steenbacher and Gillis to have to put on the jets and go by him if they want to get that lucky dog, if we do get another yellow on the track. And for now, 10 laps on the stint. 1.199 seconds. And a turn 3 for Nicholas Vizzuti. And for the most part, we've seen the leader extend their gap as soon as they get into clean air, as soon as they get all out front. It has been a tear for anybody who was up front, including Kyle Benson, Craig Launsager, and now it's turned to the hands of the pole sitter. Vizzuti is now, he's getting some laps under his belt. So as Suzuki continues to lead, there's P. Bruni, who maybe will go that lap down. We may have a battle for third. Lonslager had peeked to the inside, but it has not been enough as Lonslager has to duck back in up top. And will have to give way to Murray for the time being. Remember, Murray, one of those drivers that has had consistent runs, and we'll take a look exactly at our point standings and see where everybody had shaken out so far, and you'll take a look at it. There was Tyler Murray, who currently sits 6 in points. Lonslager a little bit up the road in 4th. That was your point standings heading into tonight so far. But at this point, now they're battling for position and what might be some key crucial points gained over James Holzer to cut the lead down and maybe cut the lead down between each other in the gap that they have currently sitting, as we have about 1.7 seconds between Vizzuti and Benson, 3.5 seconds back, as they'll get around Pete Bruni, who's already got a lapped out, which has to come into question for Steenbacher and Gillis, as they may have to get around him, considering the fact that they have been pretty much following the guys on the lead lap for the most part. They will probably end up in that train and go to the bottom and then get by Steenbacher's with barely any damage, and maybe some to the left front. I believe he picked up a faster pair, but he did get some left side damage after smacking the guardrail to the bottom of the track after he got loose out of turn 2. And that was an incident that caused no yellow. He didn't necessarily go around. It was just sort of a quarter spin before he catched it, or at least before he caught it. So everybody mostly single file as you continue to watch the battle, as Lonslager has continued to try and reel down Murray using the top of the racetrack, and has seen some drivers with different lines. You see right here, Lonslager a little bit low at the exit of turn 4, Murray a lot higher. Not necessarily they stay equal for the most part. You see here, Lonslager entrance a lot lower, Murray all the way to the top of the racetrack. Maybe got a little bit too much, which will push. Here comes Lonslager for position. This will be for third. And there goes the 13 by. So a little mistake by the 8 sets a loss of position by 1. And now Lonslager will try to catch up to the guys up front. But it is kind of a tall task considering it's about 3 seconds between himself and the driver up front in the number 4 machine. So everybody stays single file. And now edging to about our last 118 laps of this race. And we haven't necessarily had a long green flag run as previously mentioned, so it not necessarily has been easy. We'll continue to watch Vizzuti as he heads up, so probably at the moment now we have not looked at a yellow flag, considering I believe everybody has gone through their issues and not much attrition in this race. Haven't seen anybody officially go to the garage and be concluded as a DNF here. So that's good news, seeing all 13 drivers on the track. Maybe 2 a lap down or maybe 3 a lap down, but nonetheless, they're still competing for position. They're still fighting for spots and fighting for eligibility in this race. Pass 4, the lucky dog has been completed, so Steenbacher's has found his way by. And now if we get a yellow flag for the rest of this race, for now, where Steenbacher stands, he will be the lucky dog candidate, and he will get a wave around to be back on the lead lap and have a chance to contend with everybody within this top 10. But albeit 13 drivers on the track, even if you finish at the tail end of this field, it's not necessarily a tough finish for you, considering the amount of drivers we've seen before in this series, where at Daytona we had more than 30 drivers start this race. A lot of the races have quite about 20 or more drivers to start. So it has been a good amount of points to spread, but even then 13th probably wouldn't sit too bad, even though considering a top 15 it wasn't bad a couple of weeks back. So that might not be the issue of concern here for anybody in this field, but of course you want to get as many points as you can, and if you can get the win, there's obviously going to be the chance that you'll take it if you're a driver, and taking the lead has been a good step forward for the 75 of Vizzuti, as he's now about 1.8 seconds over Kyle Benson. The lead has slowly crunched in, but hasn't necessarily decreased by that much. It's maintained relatively stable. For everybody now, it is just about riding around, but this is our first look at green flag run, so saving the tires underneath you will probably be the best way around. It will be the best way to get position over the rest of the drivers. Just hold on a long run, get those tires fresher underneath you by saving in the early run, and then by the end you can maximize that grip to get around either drivers who have used up their stuff or have been playing the aggressive game. When you're side by side, when you're battling for position, of course, it doesn't do well to your tires in either case. To the point where you can lose the rubber a lot, to the point where the grip is not there, and the car can just feel like a straight tank going into turn 1, turn 3 in the entrance of the corners, especially when you're rolling the center. So that is a big concern, especially when you go to places like Phoenix. It can be very tight, putting yourself in the corner as the tires wear. The tires get scrubbed up from the heat on the track, and of course from the laps that you've run. But then it's sort of an opposite end when you get out of the corner, because you're trying to put the throttle in, but the car with no traction on the rear wheels, it does not want to go, because you really have to wrestle the car. And right there, see Benson wrestling the car off turn 2. I had a shot as he caught the car there, and luckily was able to save it, leaving off the throttle. But now just watching everybody run silently as you're riding on board with Tyler Warner, the 33. A lap with Tyler Warner, the driver of the 33, and had mentioned it already a couple of times tonight, the driver who is the only one in the field with a 1 win. The series coming at Daytona. We're looking back at the top 2, but the battle has grown to a gap of 1.9, has shrunk to a gap of 1.6, and it is fluctuating every time by. We reach around lap number 80, so we're coming close to the last 100 laps of this race. This is the first time we see a strong and steady green flag run go for this event. So that is fairly good news for everybody in this field to try and get this race underway, and for drivers who have been better on the long runs to showcase their talents. And a lot of drivers necessarily consider themselves in different styles, and that's one of the things about racing in general, not only just sim racing, is that you'll find drivers who race in different ways on the sim. Could be a very good example as to how drivers maneuver themselves and how what they feel is comfortable in the race car, what they like more. Some drivers like their cars a little bit looser. Some drivers like their cars a little bit tighter, especially at tracks like this where it's so flat. Some people like to have their car swinging out sideways. They want to see the car swing on sideways, or else it's not doing its job. But for some other cases, having the car very tight can give the car some better turning, or for some other drivers it might other be the different cases, but not necessarily here, considering we're in a fixed setup. But the only things you could really change are steering ratios, brake bias, and steering offset. That's as much as you can tinker with before you just have to leave everybody else or everything else as it is. You have to run with the same set as everybody else. Steering ratio does play a factor, though, in terms of tire saving, especially at short tracks. They do come up, and steering offset does help, especially when you want to know how much you want to crank the wheel. Some drivers like to crank the wheel a lot more. Some drivers like to do it a lot less to save their rubber underneath their machines. And so far, the long run speed has been there for the pole sitter. So not only has he been fastest in just 2 laps around here, he's been fastest throughout this entire long run. So it has been paying dividends for the driver of the Village Place Music number 75. One of the more colorful schemes we see throughout this season, and a scheme that has not made a change since the drop of the green flag at Daytona. We've seen that light blue car make its appearance on every single race so far this season, and we talked about Bazzuti in the point standings and how good of a run he can be, considering the fact that everybody else, or a good amount of drivers he's competing against, are not here tonight, and that will easily be a leapfrog in the point standings, as now he's gapped up to about 2 seconds, and maybe the gap closing for second and third, as Lonsarger has spread away from Tyler Murray in the 8 machine. And haven't necessarily seen the battles on track per se. Not many drivers have been side by side, or at least are side by side for the moment. Everybody pretty much single file. This is the closest you're going to get as a step in 2 drivers close to each other, but even then, that's not a battle within itself. Steenbacher is currently 1 lap down, just hoping for a yellow flag. So at this point, Mazzuti will currently lead. And we stay under green flag circumstances. Now the question will be, we're about 31-32 now as the 75 crosses the line. We're getting to our stint in pit cycles, so we may see drivers going down pit road under green, depending on how long the stretch of fuel is. Remember, it's been about, as it since lap 54 that we got drivers down pit road the last time by when we had our most recent yellow. So we could see drivers maybe elect that strategy and go down pit road. Maybe it's the undercut, the overcut, depending on the time that they spread. I'm not sure exactly what the fuel window is per se, concerning with every single driver on the track and how much fuel load there is. However, I believe in the last 100 laps, this should give a good significance that they will have to pit at least one more time in their stint before they conclude this race. So that also could bring a wrench into the ring and could help drivers like Kyle Benson and Craig Lonsauger, maybe drivers further behind, because if you can't make up the time on track, why not let your pit crew do it for you and giving you all that time to gain track position? And that will be key so far, because every single time the pattern has stayed, the driver who has taken the race lead has easily pulled it away and has been miles ahead of the rest of that field. That's really been the case, that we've seen just good jumps on restarts, has pushed them ahead in turn one, and then you really never see them again. As I believe might have had a situation there where Ricky Rosner and the driver of the 08er, Pete Bruni, heard some contact with the outside wall between them both. However, they stay single file, and now Ricky Rosner is the next candidate to go one lap down. He's currently the last driver on the lead lap in ninth. Roman Long was the last one before, but he was riding in the top 10 before getting put a lap down by the race leader. So Rosner has been looking at his rearview mirror, and now he can see the driver of the 75, and he may have to start to worry, maybe hope for a yellow, considering the fact that he's going a lap down. And even worse for Long, for Steenbacher, for Gillis, and for Bruni, they are all one lap down fighting for position. So if the yellow flag were to come out, that will give the free pass to Ricky Rosner, and certainly will keep everybody else behind one lap down, and they will have to pray for yet again another yellow, and they have to scramble again to end up the first car one lap down. So as we continue to look around the drivers and the Magic Mile, seeing most of the drivers stick in, here is Richard Rico, the driver of the 17 machine, and one of the drivers who made his first starts at Auto Club and posed a pretty prominent run before, I believe, getting into an incident earlier in the race, and didn't necessarily have a lot of fun since then at Auto Club, but has been stepping well so far tonight, currently sitting in the 6th position, has been riding clean so far. So at least for Rico, he's riding all between himself. But I guess since we are halfway through this race, it'll be a good moment to go through the entire field. So we'll start with the driver up front, the driver, the number 75, pole sitter, 34-lap leader, Nicholas Mazzuti, is yet to pick up a win, sitting in top 15 in points prior to this event. And ever since taking the lead on the recent restart lap number 54, he has sailed away with it, 2.6 seconds in front of second place. And for now, Mazzuti has been eyeing in on that first win. If he could stay out, execute a pit strategy, or just stay there to the front in track position, get there to the checkered flag, it'll be his first win of the season, and one that'll surely boost him up into the track position or points position with a lot of drivers that have missed tonight's event. Kyle Benson, currently one of the more consistent drivers without a win, has gotten top 3s, top 5s, you name it. He's had it all but a checkered flag. And Kyle Benson has been one of the drivers that has been struggling with his race car over the long run, as you can tell, stepping out of turn 4, and now is under pressure for that second spot. But Benson has been running fairly well and has done a good job, but not anymore. He slaps the outside wall there as the car got tight there. But for Benson, now currently sitting 3rd, maybe a night that was going good is now starting to fall through the reins. Craig Lonsauger, who was sitting 3rd, now slips into 2nd. He's also been a driver to run consistently. A driver that has, or currently sits 4th in the point standings prior to this event. He's currently at 13 laps since the drop of the green flag. Had a restart where he stayed out and led a good portion before another yellow came out, put him down pit road, and then lost that track position. But over the long run, he's shown his speed, and now he gets over by Kyle Benson for the 2nd spot. So it is surely going into his favor as we continue to move forward to the halfway point. Tyler Murray, league owner himself, has been sitting quietly within top 5, led the field back to the green on a restart earlier tonight, but since then has fallen in the top 5 and currently sits 4th and has been where he's stood so far tonight. Necessarily just keeping it clean. One of the drivers further back in the point standing as well. Not necessarily a driver that has a lot of good luck so far in 2021 and has been looking to turn it around with the absence of drivers, and currently sitting 9 seconds back from the race leader in P4. Daytona winner Tyler Warner, the only driver with a win in this entire roster in this race. Currently sits at the edge of the top 5, has been on a resurgence since a little bit of a drop off after Daytona, has pulled on some good finishes and is now looking eager to top 5 at the halfway mark of this race, looking to position himself higher up in the ranks. His highest position tonight has been 4. He's gained 8 spots since the drop of the green flag. He was set further back in this field, so it has been a ride to the field for Tyler Warner in a good way, and now he currently sits riding at the high side into the edge of the top 5. Talked about Richard Rico and his performances so far this season. Has first started at Auto Club Speedway and now continues to roll through here in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and currently sits 6th right here in New Hampshire. Has also had a fairly clean race. Not necessarily any incidents. Maybe sometimes the car has wiggled around, but not necessarily any big news to tell for Richard Rico. He's done a solid job of keeping the car clean and keeping the car straight. He's a driver that has not used his fast repair. Driver in 7th is a driver who did use his fast repair. Got into an incident earlier tonight with the driver of the 08 P. Bruni to cause a caution, one of our second cautions in this race. Jaden Gimble has burned his fast repair, but over the course of the long run, he's gained a lot of positions. His highest has been 6, and he's currently eyeing on that, not too far behind Richard Rico for position. So although Jaden Gimble burned up his fast repair earlier in tonight's event, he's been able to keep the car clean since, and has done a swell job. I think we saw one car go around, and there it is, caution flag, lap 98, and was expecting it. When we saw the 08 of P. Bruni go around at the exit of turn 4, and his bud Chevrolet Camaro has not seen a good night here at the Magic Mile. We'll take a look. As you saw him at the edge of the screen when looking at Richard Rico, and it was P. Bruni off turn 4. You see he burned in fast repair, and he was using the bottom of the racetrack, using that grip to his advantage, and then I think it was just the car unsettling itself on the transition there, right there in the seam. Gets loose. Oh, wait, not hitting anything. Oh, what a slowdown for Christopher Bishop to be hard on the brakes. There's Brandon Gillis swerving left, but what a job by Christopher Bishop to not only slow down, but be nose to nose, almost kissing the 08 car, and did not get a scratch on his 42. We'll have to take a look at that once again. That was fantastic driving. The driver of the 42. Watch this as he was exiting turn 4. Hard on the brakes just in time, and a great maneuver for ability move there as everybody's go down pit road. Considering the fact that everybody was on that long run, it's safe to say consensus again in the final 89 laps of this race will be 4 tires and fuel along the way. So 4 fresh Goodyears under the shoes of these Cup cars, and for now we'll have everybody step out to the 4-tire battle. We'll see if Benson gets any sort of leeway out of it, but it won't be battle for second persists. I think Glonstarger might have got it by an inch. Actually, Benson gets it, and Benson actually stays no further time down pit road to get that damage fixed, and saw him slap the outside wall as we were riding along with him in that second spot. So under our, I think our 6th yellow of the evening. We've had a lot of cautions to start this race, and it's surely spread out, and the cautions now coming in short spurts, as you would say. I think Benson now returning to pit road to pick up damage. Actually, no, we'll stay to the bottom of the racetrack, so he'll stay in as some of the guys start to find their way in. I believe the likes of Ricky Rosner, he's going down pit road. Brandon Gillis, saw Roman Long, and going down pit road. Steenbacher might be in position for the lucky dog, I think, this time by. We'll have to see. That's why Steenbacher is staying out on the track. Remember, looking for that caution to find themselves into that lucky dog position. It only takes 2 cars to get by for Steenbacher. So far in the timing and scoring, he's not considered that at the moment. So, for now, under yet again another yellow. The final 88 laps of this race. We'll take a short break, and when we come right back, we'll have more coverage from the Magic Mile. You're watching the 2021 4 Wide Racing League, and it's live coverage right here on MaxSpeedTV.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Welcome back to coverage of the 4 Wide Racing League from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for round 6 of the 2021 season. So far, it is back to the restart in the first 100 laps of this race, and now cruising to lap 104 of 189. The field is reset at the hands of Pete Bruni, who set out that race in yellow. On our restart, Vizzuti has spread out to a lead, but not by much. Everybody else from Benson, Lonsarger, everybody behind has crept in, and now single file they stand to get by at the moment. As Vizzuti has led a good chunk of this race, or going through the field, or was going through the field prior to that yellow flag when it came out at lap 98 of 189, and now we're finally edging into what might be our final stretch of the end of this race. Had our conversations about pit strategy and whether we were going to see it. Should have we stayed green flag racing. However, that was not the case, as the yellow came out just at the right time in the midst of that long green flag run. So I don't believe for now we'll have to talk about anything green flag pit stop related, because I think from now on to the end of this race, everybody should be good on fuel. So there probably won't be concerns. The only concerns that will lie will be the tires and how the tires have worn. We saw Kyle Benson through the long one sort of faded a little bit from Vizzuti, and it was Craig Lonsarger who was the driver to pounce on him, despite and seeing Benson creep up to the outside wall in the entrance of turn 1. Lonsarger slowly putting that pressure back on in the short run on the fresh tires, and everybody's scrambling up the racetrack to find some sort of grip using their maneuvers down on the racetrack. So at least for now, we've had an infinite amount of lead changes, but ever since Vizzuti has taken the lead, it's been all him. But he may have to look in his rearview mirror for some drivers that may be putting that pressure. Benson just a little bit loose off turn 4. Now the top 4 have practically broken away. It's now 2 seconds from first, as now we have a yellow flag, and it was involving Richard Rico and Brandon Gillis. Pete Bruni now slamming in as Rico was going up the track, and I talked earlier about Rico's clean run so far, and it's not clean anymore, as he has damage to his Toyota Camry, and he sets out another yellow here. The cautions breeding the cautions. We'll take a look as it began off turn 4, and I think it started with maybe the 17 just grabbing itself loose on the fresh tires, using the banking. I think right there, car steps out, not able to catch it in enough time, into the inside wall, sliding up the track. Nobody else is involved at that point. I think we may have seen another driver involved. There's the away going right into him. I believe Brandon Gillis also went around by himself. Indeed, he did. So it was another incident, just a single car one, as he was able to drift himself back around. Nice job to keep it straight, but then, oh, very dangerous up the track. Bruni able to slow down for the time being, but then slams right into the 17 of Rico. We'll take a look from the cockpit of Rico as he's heading out of turn 4. There he goes, tries to catch the car, not enough, and then at that point, hard on the brakes from then. See him shift in reverse here, try to go backwards, and then Bruni right up into him. Not enough time for him to react. So Rico now down pit road. He's going to get his damage fixed. Everybody else, actually apart from Bazzuti, will go in. So Benson will lead everybody else on the lead lap for fresh tires. But Bazzuti will make a call to stay out. So it's the first time we see that happen. Most of the time when we see the yellow, it's always the leader and everybody else behind him that goes down pit road. But it has not been the case, I think, for now. Considering the fact that Benson now will go in and it'll be a 10-lap difference on tires. So we'll see how that works because I haven't seen old tires versus new tires considerably here tonight. And this could be our first shot of seeing it in the final 79 laps of this race. Currently, telemetry tells us that if we stay green for the rest of this event, we will go for about 40 more minutes to the checkered flag here to end this event. As if you're watching on eraser_GG, Chronomaly 500 is reaching the final stages of this race, of their race, but they've had a lot of yellows as well in the final segment, and they currently ride under yellow with under 30 laps to go, sitting at about lap 178 of the 200 scheduled, and going to 500 miles. They're almost about there, just as part as we are almost about done here. For 189 miles, way less, but we did start way later than the Chronomaly 500 began. So we'll have a restart with the drivers who started on the front row tonight. They'll be leading us back to the green flag in the same format they did when we dropped it tonight for the 6th race of the 4 Wide Racing League. And just a reminder that if you currently want to tune into more action on MaxSpeedTV, or if you want to change that split screen action, if you want to change the split screen action on the other side from eraser.gg and stay here on YouTube, you can tune in to another stream that's live currently on MaxSpeedTV right now, and that currently is the Ice Car Chuck Anderson Super Late Model Tour from the virtual Langley Speedway with the Super Late models. They currently are running, I believe, in an issue with their race. However, they are looking to work that issue out for the time being, and for now, doesn't seem to be anybody else live. The Southeast Coast Truck League was racing about an hour ago before they finished their event, so that was another event you can catch now on YouTube as a replay on MaxSpeedTV. It was at Las Vegas. But other than that, other than the Ice Car stream, that's the only thing happening on MaxSpeedTV so far tonight. We'll try to get you updates on whether anything does change or when we go to finishing this race. Nicholas Bazzuti is lined up on the front row with Kyle Benson for this restart. And Tyler Murray and Tyler Warner. Again, 2 Tylers to round out row number 2. Christopher Bishop, first time seeing him within the top 5. He sits alongside Craig Lansauger for the row number 3. Then Ricky Rosner, Richard Rico, Jaden Gimble, Roman Long, Brandon Gillis, Steenbacher, and Bruni. Rounding out your entire field. Off turn 4. For yet again another time, back to the green flag on lap 113. Bazzuti with a monstrous start. Not as good of a one for Benson, as he may have missed a shift or maybe missed a start. He gets passed by Tyler Murray on the way back to turn 1. And Benson puts himself in a little bit of a hole, as now Murray will look to charge right to the edge, right to the 75's bumper. Benson now looking for retaliation. They were almost 3 wide behind them off turn 2. Now Benson to the bottom of the racetrack, eager to go back for position. He'll slide up the track just a little bit, back down the flat banking. He'll try to use that grip car just a little bit unsteady, but Murray's into the outside wall, and that keeps the top 3 at a small breakaway. Probably was expecting Lansauger to push further forward, but he is in the midst of a fight with the 33 of Tyler Warner, but he wins it off turn 2, and now his mission will be looking forward to the rest of these guys. Battle for the lead brewing up to the inside of turn 3. Here comes Kyle Benson. Hard on the brakes, not enough to get there. Bazzuti holds on to the lead so far in turn 4. but it may not last for long. Here is Kyle Benson to the inside, looking for that first spot. And so far, we've seen the driver who stayed in first pull away from the field every time we've had a lead change. And the question remains, can it happen right now? Pass completed. Benson to the race lead. Murray now looking for second. And now it's all about what Benson can do for the rest of this race if we stay green. Now an eager edge out of turn 2, back around the racetrack. Battle now for second. Vizzuti has fallen back to as far as third, maybe even fourth. And this restart has proved disastrous. Remember, it's been on the 10-lap older tires, so it has also been a struggle for Vizzuti to hold on for position. And the grip certainly playing a big dividend. Remember, no tire sets for this league, so any amount of tires you can get is that advantage. Now Lonsarger may have to put in the prey as Benson will work forward to the race lead on lap 117. Now just about 36 minutes from the end of this race if we get to it without any yellows. Lonsarger under for third with Warner and Rico to follow. Right now, I got to imagine what the 75 has been thinking here to make that strategy. Is he expecting another yellow, or is he just now having to hold on and muster what he can? Because even then, these drivers on the fresh tires can get by early. However, if they use their stuff up too quickly, if the tires get worn down, if they start to abuse the car a little bit more, that could equal them out. And then for that moment, you'll end up seeing everybody equaled then and fared squarely enough at the same level, and that could give the benefit for Vizzuti because they could have less grip, and then Vizzuti can save for the time being, and then from there he'll be able to crawl back through the field, gain those positions all the way back. So even with a short-term loss comes a long-term gain for the 75. But we'll see if that strategy ends up working or if we stay green for the rest of this race. And again, the same theme will follow. Leader who gets it will be pulling away, so it's 1.2 seconds between first and second. You're riding on board from the nose of the Chevrolet Camaro of Tyler Murray. You see him crawl out of turn 2. It's been merely eager to get on the gas as there's the rest of the field swallowing in the 75 of Vizzuti, as everybody else has spread out for the most part. Our final 69 laps of this race. Fairly nice, if I would say the least, but back into turn 1. And again, we have talked multiple times about pitch strategy, whether that would come to fruition, whether we'd see it. We really haven't seen it because it seems as though every single time we talk about it, every single time we may get closer to it, a yellow always comes out to put everybody back in the perfect place with the tires and fuel. So it hasn't been a mental game per se for any of the drivers tonight. It's more so been the physical part, just having to hold on to their cars and make sure they don't get spun around, which we have seen single car spins so far tonight, a handful of them. We'll probably see a lot more coming to a handful of other tracks. Maybe Phoenix could pose one of those challenges. And looking forward through the rest of the 4-wide racing season, of course, I mentioned Talladega next week, so we go back to a super speedway and one of the more chaotic venues. Sure to see more drivers there, but eager to see also more chaos unfold at the Talladega Super Speedway next Wednesday night on March 10th. Iowa is the next short track after 200 laps there. It'll be March 17th, so that is another short track we go to. Then we go to Martinsville and race number 9. Had talked about that as well, so 2 short tracks in a row after that. Michigan will follow suit, so another large track after, then another large track to follow in April 7th. Pocono after, Dover, short track, and then Vegas, Charlotte, Roval, Atlanta, Bristol, Phoenix, and the Daytona Oval to round out your regular season. Top 18 races. So we are going to see a good amount of short track racing before we even get to the end of the regular season, and then even more when we get to the top 10 in the chase beginning on June 1st with Richmond at night, 267 laps. So from there on, it's been fair, to say the least, for them. So at this moment, Benson will lead them still. And no battles have presumed, as Vizzuti is now held on to top 5. So really then, and now we have a yellow flag. This gives the opportunity for Vizzuti to go down pit road. We'll try to see who it might have involved. You see Ricky Rosner there to the bottom of the track. He has hit the inside wall, and now he is struggling to get back up to pace. We'll see what happened here with the 43. We'll leave another single car spin this time. You're riding into turn 3 and 4, and I think again, yep, the car steps out. Car steps out right there. Hits the inside wall barely. Don't think it's enough damage to crinkle anything on his car, but will be enough to set out another yellow flag, as there's the 43 then trying to steer himself out. We'll now put everybody on strategy, so maybe everybody will go down pit road again. It's been 16 laps on the stint, so probably we'll expect everybody to go 4 tires and fuel, which will include Nicholas Vizzuti, so then it will put everybody back under equal footing. There they go down pit road. So Benson will lead them off. Murray, Lownslogger, Warner, Vizzuti, Rico, Bishop, Gimbal, and Roman Long. There's a handful of drivers that stay out, and the driver who should get the wave around, Ryan Steenbacher, will be that next driver. Brandon Gillis will stay behind the pace car, so I think they will stay 1 lap down. Steenbacher will be elected that wave around, so he'll be okay on that part. So we'll see how it all unfolds. As Tyler Murray wins the race off pit road. What has happened to Kyle Benson? He fell back to 4th. I believe that was in part of fixing that damage to the right side. So Murray will resume the race lead and bring us back with Tyler Warner up top. It's the first time we see Tyler Warner into the top 2 this entire race, believe it or not. The only driver to win a race in 2021 will now lead us back, and we are now closing into about less than 60 laps ago here in New Hampshire. So we're edging into the final closing segments of this race. Hopefully gonna get to the end fairly soon. It's more so been a lot of the same patterns that we've seen so far. So we'll see how everything fares, at least for now, in terms of this series. So now we'll get our 1 to green signal here from the IRC official pace car. We'll have 2 Camaros to lead us under green once again at lap number 130. The 189 scheduled to run here from the Magic Mile in the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So far, happy to have you join us through our entire journey. The first 5 races, and now will be first 6 races of the 4-Wide Racing League and the Cup Series. It's been certainly a fun couple of races to cover, and for the rest of the season, it'll surely be a lot more fun to cover, especially when we wind things down, bring up the storylines for playoff drivers, championship eligibility, and top 10 drivers in points when we move forward. So again, we'll have a restart here with the 2 Camaros lead us back to green. Tyler Murray and Tyler Warner, the 2 Tylers who have found themselves in row 2, row 3 before on restarts. They'll be at the head of the field, back under green. Tyler Murray with a head out front as they lead them off. Once again, back to turn 1. Good jump by the 8 machine, but an even better jump by the 75 to duck low from Kyle Benson. And looking for third, there's Jaden Gimbel to the outside wall. No harm, no foul. We stay green flag racing in the final 60 laps of the, or final 59 laps of this race. Under 60 laps to go. And everybody keeping calm for the time being as Vizzuti has been eyeing in the inside of the 4 Benson, but it is not fouled in enough. They stay single file as they head at a turn 4 back to the start-finish line. And for Murray, this is his opportunity to pull away. We've talked about it so many times. Pulling away for the rest of the field has been the key for every single lead change so far tonight. And for Tyler Murray, it has been that exact same way. But for Warner, he'll have to deal with a lot more pressure from the rear bumper. There goes Kyle Benson for second. He'll slip up the track, slip in a second, and he'll now have the chance to charge as he's very loose at the exit of turn 4, right in front of the driver of the 33, and they'll stay together. This will allow Vizzuti to scoop up to the inside and go for position as well. Richard Rico also watching this from a front seat. As now they continue to fight for position all the way up the track. Benson scrapes the wall 2 by 2 for position behind. This will allow Murray to pull out even further ahead of the race lead. Rico almost looking 3 wide. Right to the back, it has been tough. There goes Vizzuti almost around the track, able to save it. Fantastic save, but some maybe damage to the left side of his machine. He'll fall all the way back to the tail end, and that'll leave Kyle Benson clear of any pressure now. But that allowed Murray to gap the field 1.8 seconds. Unbelievable shakeout. Oh, position here. And now Benson, who was one of the stronger drivers in the opening run, now has a hole to get himself out of. Jaden Gimbel has to suffer for 4th as Vizzuti now just at the edge of the top 10 and trying to get everything as much as he can back to the inside. That's the 79 Steenbachers. This is for 9th. That inside not necessarily work. That outside can get the run, and we've seen it already. So it surely can't happen again, and we've seen good side-by-side battles between drivers due to that eligibility where the outside has been fairly strong. The inside has necessarily been the holder, but can't necessarily go all the way to the bottom considering it's so flat down there. The car will easily unsettle, and it will easily try to turn you around. But for Murray, it's been smooth sailing, 2 seconds ahead. We'll see if the gap starts to close in from the longer run as they are now 8 laps on their stint, and we may expect another quick yellow here, which has significantly slowed this race down. No end in sight. As we look back for position, there's Vizzuti now under Steenbacher again, but still not able to grab any sort of position or any sort of grip down to the bottom of the track. It's not been easy for Vizzuti ever since he lost it and almost lost the entire car off turn 4 and lost all those spots, and now is all the way back here. If it stays green, this could be detrimental to Vizzuti, who started on the pole, led so many laps tonight. In fact, he's led 55, and it has been tough. It will be very tough for him to go back. Now he finally gets by Steenbacher's 4 position. And now we'll have to try to follow Jaden Gimbel. But now yellow comes out. And I'm not sure whether the yellow stood. Not sure where the yellow might have come from. However, we might see it from Brandon Gillis. So we'll try to take a look, see if it was any of the drivers out back. I don't believe it was. May have been Roman Long here in the 14. We'll try to take a look as you're riding with the 14 and maybe just got loose off turn 2. Might have been the case for the driver there, but I'm not sure whether that was the one that did indeed bring out the yellow here. I don't see anybody. I think it might have been Christopher Bishop in the 42 was fairly slow. There it was. That's the reason we have this yellow flag. This is out of turn 4. Not too far behind the battle for, I believe, about 7th. And there it is, almost into the pit road attenuator. Swing that car left. Swung it back to the right. And then there it is, sideways, but enough to trigger a yellow flag. So everyone down pit road. Jaden Gimbel will stay out on the track. And everybody else will follow suit. So pit road is busy once again. We'll see how the leaders fare when they get all 4 fresh tires. The battle off pit road. Murray wins it. Benson at second by just a nose over Tyler Warner. Lautenslager out in 5th. Vizzuti out 6th. Steenbachers. And then Bishop. Ricky Rosner out next. Roman Long out the final one as Pete Bruni goes down pit road. It seems as though Richard Rico has just called it quits. He's the first driver to DNF tonight. 13th place. 2 laps down. Unfortunate to see what has been a fairly good race for the driver of the 17. And now going into a large ending. As there's Jaden Gimbel, who was your race leader, did not go down pit road, so it seems as though he will finally step down, will allow Murray to assume the race seat once again. And the final 49 laps of this race, so we've already gotten about 28 laps since about the last time we spoke about it. It should give us about 25 minutes until we go to the end of this event. If you're watching the eracer_GG race, the Chronomaly 500, there has been a string of yellows to end that one. They have yet to conclude the race. They are still 7 laps out from the finish. At lap 193 of 200 with a wreck earlier involving a handful of drivers. They've had several big ones, and now chaos seems to be unfolding. Seth the Merchant was the race leader. I believe prior to that, yellow or was fighting for the race lead at the time. Had a lot of drivers taken out due to those circumstances, but that race still far from over, and it's still far from over here. Still a long run left to play, considering the amount of yellows we've had in the final stints, or in many of the shorter stints we've had. Maybe go to 15, 20 laps before we end up seeing yellows plague the race. There's Pete Bruni getting away from round, so he'll go to the lead or to the tail end of this field. I believe we'll only have a handful of rows left, so it'll be Murray and Benson, your first row. First and second, Tyler Warner third. Fourth will be Craig Lautenslager. Fifth in the top 5 will be Christopher Bishop, followed by Ryan Steenbachers. Before you get to Roman Long, Ricky Rosner and Jaden Gimbel, your top 10. Seems as though Nicholas Vizzuti is pitted again. He'll round out your top 10 for now. And maybe going to use the fresh tires to his benefit. Or at least maybe topping off on fuel. We'll have to find out. And we'll see what happens in the next restart. Don't believe it'll be our final one. But it's all going to be found out here. We'll see if some magic enables for anybody to get a first-time winner, or whether we see Warner repeat at a track that is not Daytona. We'll see what happens. Off turn 4, Murray and Benson back to the green flag on lap number 143. Still about 46 laps remaining in this event, so a long way to go. But here at the 1 mile track, it may not take as long. Battle for third already brewing up. Warner now defending for position, but Murray has been holding strong up top. But the short run speed has been enough for Benson to capture the race lead numerous times, so he's done fairly well on the short runs, but on the longer runs, he's really fallen off. So the question will be, if we stay green for the rest of this race, can Benson put enough pressure, and or can he hold on to his race car and keep it safe to the point where he can survive on the long run and possibly gain more grip if Murray and Warner do not pull out any sort of tire saving strategies. Benson has been looking down low, and he had a shot there in the middle of one, and now has to single file back to the inside. Doing a farewell of putting the brakes on, as Murray will brake a little bit later as you're riding on board. you see it right there, still defending, and it has been Benson putting on the pressure, and saw Lounsauger a little bit loose, had been under pressure from Steenbachers, and maybe even more, as Vizzuti has yet to climb back from that little loose moment off turn 4. It has not been easy for Vizzuti. He has been on a hard charge ever since, and now it's his mission to catch back up to the lead where he was starting this race. But the battle for the lead has persisted. Warner has fallen back just a little bit, which has allowed Benson and Murray to the center stage and the spotlight as they've continued to run within a handful of tenths of each other. They've been fairly equal on this short run. Now for the time being, we're getting under 30 laps to go from New Hampshire. In the 6th race of the season for the 4-Wide Racing League Cup Series. And for now, Murray currently holds strong in his High Life Sports Chevrolet Camaro. Nobody in the top 2 have captured a win in 2021. Your 3rd place driver has, but maybe not anymore for the top 3. Lounsauger had looked to the outside. Warner with a loose moment off turn 4. Lounsauger by, and Lounsauger up to 3rd. There's Vizzuti now coming back up to the field, and the real concern will come if whether he's going to use up all of his tires to get back if we don't have any more yellows here. And Steenbachers has done a phenomenal job to put himself back into top 5 contention. Was all the way at the rear of the field in 12th as the lowest. 1 lap down at one point in this race. Has crawled his way back with some of the yellows and some of the luck that he's acquired here. But now he'll maybe lose position here to Nicholas Vizzuti as they're fighting for that 5th spot. Vizzuti eagerly looking to the bottom as now another yellow flag with 40 laps to go. This time, I believe it's Roman Long going around. Some more damage to the left side. We'll try to see what happened here with Long, and indeed it was another situation of going around. Another single car incident. This gets loose, wiggles the car back to the right. Brandon Gillis cuts right in front of him before smacking the outside barrier and slowing to a stop in the middle of the racetrack. But for Roman Long, it hasn't been a fine season. So look at it once more. Just heads loose in the banking up the seam in turns 3 and 4. Wiggles it back right. Gillis cuts through, and 14 goes right into the outside wall. Nothing for the 14 there to do other than just try to hold on to the race car, which has been the main reason for caution all night long. We'll take a look back at our race summary so far. We've had 10 cautions, 31 laps under caution as Murray will lead them down pit road. We've got 40 laps to go, edging in the final 30 or so laps. To the end of this race, we've had 15 lead changes, a lot of them under yellow, but we've seen a good amount of them under green conditions. So now Murray will lead them down pit road. That's your race summary at lap number 150 of 189. Down out of pit road, we'll see where it all shakes up. Murray a little bit further in the running order. And he'll try to get out first. Benson out a little bit closer, but it's not been enough. Benson out second. Lounsauger out to 3rd. So a phenomenal pit stop for him as Warner had fallen back. As Vizzuti will stay out. He actually pitted, but I'm not sure whether he missed his pit stall or whether he just took a shorter stop. Maybe 2 tires on that stop there. So an interesting call here by Vizzuti, as Jaden Gimbel also likes to stay out, but he has not gone down pit road for the time being. We're going to get a 1 to green signal. Seems as though Jaden Gimbel is staying out here on this strategy. And no matter the case, he'll be a race leader, but with 11 or 10 lap older tires. So maybe in the same case as Vizzuti, he might get swallowed up by the field in this next restart. We might actually end up with further restarts to lengthen this race. If we were to go green from here on out, it would be about 18 minutes. 50 seconds. We still have a good amount of time to get to the checkered flag and maybe capture our first time winner here in 2021. Off turn 4, pace car will make its left to pit road. We'll see how long Jaden Gimbel can hold on in the final 37 laps of this race. Green flag out and away. Big jump for the number 12 machine, and it'll all be about how everybody ends up behind them, side by side. For second as Gimbel smacks the outside wall. Car did not respond, and he'll let everybody by, as now here they come for first 3 wide for the race lead. Benson to the bottom of the track. Murray in the middle, Vizzuti up top. What a move by Vizzuti to stay up there. What a move by Benson to peak himself low. He'll get a little bit loose off turn 4, so still side by side. And now here's Vizzuti peeking nose in for second. Almost a bumper there to the back of the 4. Almost 3 wide again. Almost contact off turn 4, or turn 2 rather. As they're still equal door to door. Mustang, Camaro back to turn 3. Hard on the brakes again, trying to outbrake the other, but also trying to make the corner. Murray with the advantage up top, and now he'll get a little bit loose. Almost up to the wall. Murray, not enough as Benson gets the nose out front. And this will further allow the drivers behind to try and find some sort of way. Benson loose up the track. Saves it, though, through the middle. What a save to keep it straight by Benson. But now that leaves Murray with the race lead. There goes Warner to the outside wall. Big crash on the back straightaway. We saw one driver, I believe that was Roman Long, head to the inside wall. Will we get a yellow? The answer so far is no. And Tyler Murray with the race lead, as Tyler Warner had a big hit to the outside wall and has fallen back to 10th. Unbelievable circumstances there off turn 2. Saw Warner loose up the track. Tried to save it, then reverted it back to the outside wall, the right. And saw Roman Long lose it off turn 4, but he spun underneath the racing line. So we stay green in the final 33 laps of this race. Murray now up by 0.7 of a second to Nicholas Vizzuti. And now Vizzuti in prime position. Remember that mistake he made off turn 4 where he lost track position, had fallen to the near end of the top 10, and was struggling to find himself back. This is his opportunity to get revenge and take the win from the pole. And now the gap increasing 0.9 seconds as you're riding on board with the driver of the 75. Just not enough to gather the grip. Now the yellow comes out. Saw the lights come out of the right side of the track on the fence. And maybe Roman Long again, but we may have to see. I think it might have been Tyler Warner who went around as he was put a lap down as a result. We'll take a replay. Actually, it wasn't him. Not sure where exactly it might have started here to bring out our yellow here, but maybe in the likes of Jaden Gimbel. We'll have to see whether that was the case. Doesn't seem he goes around. There the yellow comes out. And it was Roman Long, actually, who may have had an incident. Actually, not entirely sure what exactly brought out the yellow here. And it may have been Steenbacher, who may have had trouble off the corner here as he was in front of Craig Launsager at the time, but lost position ever since. We'll see if that's the case. I think it might have been off the corner, and again, maybe another single car spin here. Actually, no, not from there, so don't necessarily see anybody getting into incidents, but Murray, again, will bring them all down pit road. Follow the same sequence as we've had so far in every caution in this race. Just go pit for 4 tires and fuel. Launsager actually might have been involved in that incident. You see him with damage. So that's where it might have started. And Murray will easily lead them out. Vizzuti will look for second. Benson third. Bishop to fourth. And what might have been his highest performance so far tonight. Ricky Rosner top 5 after spinning earlier in this race. He's also done a fair job of keeping himself up there and trying to survive. Remember, had 13 cars. We now have just 11 on the track. Roman Long and Richard Rico have decided to go down to the garage and end their race. So now it's all going to be about what happens in the final 29 laps of this event. As if you're watching the Carnomaly 500, the winner has been announced. Race has concluded, and it is the 46 of Jimmy Mullis for Richmond Raceway Esports. Takes the win in his Sunoco Toyota Camry. And what has been a chaotic ending to that race, a chaotic final segment, even from the final 100 laps of that event. And now it's finally come to a close on eracer_GG. So Jimmy Mullis wins over Michael Cozy and Nicholas Morse. The top 3, Matt Busa, Spencer Burns in the top 5. Decent runs also for Blake McCandless, Garrett Smithley, who run in the top 10 as well. So on that side of racing, you'll see them, or you'll see Jimmy Mullis celebrating from the time being. And for now, we've yet to have a driver celebrate here in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We should get the 1 green signal this time by from the pace car. We'll try to see from the officials whether that is the case. But we haven't stepped into a run long enough to call it the final restart. I don't think we're there just yet, as now we indeed have the 1 green signal from the pace car. So we will go next time around before we take the green flag. It'll be Tyler Murray, Nicholas Vizzuti, Kyle Benson, Christopher Bishop, and Ricky Rosner, your top 5. Brandon Gillis, Ryan Steenbachers, Craig Lauenslager, and Pete Bruni, and Jaden Gimbel rounding out your top 10. So we'll see whether this could be the final restart. I don't believe it will, considering we've had a lot of quick yellows. But who knows? It may change from now on. And maybe we'll see. Drivers go all the way green in the final 27 laps of this race. Still a relatively long run, so saving tires will be indeed key. And saving a race car will be it. But we've seen battles 3 wide, 2 wide for the race lead. Handful of times we've had multiple lead changes. Maybe we can see even more, as we'll try to calculate a winner here from New Hampshire. Off turn 4, pace car will make its left once more on another restart here on lap 163. Murray again with a good jump, able to control the field back to turn 1. Single file all the way to the top 4 before you get to Rosner, looking under Brandon Gillis for the 5th spot. And trying to defend for now. A handful of cars behind them. Lauenslager, Steenbachers involved in that battle as well. Murray now up a couple of tenths. And ever since the leader has been scrambling up front, they've been able to pull away. Murray not able to pull away as much that last time on the restart, but he's now been able to gap a good way over Vizzuti and Benson, who may form a battle here in just a couple of moments' time. Steenbachers and Lauenslager fighting for position as they single file out when they went back to turn 1. Now what will still be the battle as top 3 have now separated, and top 4, Christopher Bishop is now getting swallowed by the guys behind, Gillis included. Lauenslager, all of them have picked up faster pairs, and they did not use them until later in this race. So it has been good news for them. We'll end up finding out what happens as higher up the track, there's Vizzuti looking higher up the venue. Not enough to gather any sort of movement up to Benson, but he's kept it in between half a second, so we could also see battle for the lead brewing up here as Vizzuti is slowly closing in now and slowly starting to reel him in, put that pressure. When you're looking to the back bumper, when you're seeing in that rearview mirror and you see drivers behind catching up, you're probably going to wonder what you're going to do. It's a big mental game here, especially when we're coming to the final laps of this race, because you're looking at what the other driver is doing, especially if they're catching you. You're going to try to find out whether to block and how to defend the best way possible. And we've seen over the course of time drivers practically overrun the corners and overdrive them in defense instead of running how they would usually run in some sort of a rhythm. And you see Nicholas Vizzuti dives it more deep into the center of the corner than Tyler Murray does, but Murray usually gets a better exit. That's how he's been able to keep his strategy. You see him stop the racetrack, go for a diamond approach. That's usually what they both are looking for. I think Vizzuti took Murray's down line on that one as Lauenslager has moved up to the 4th spot. Gillis has fallen back significantly along with Christopher Bishop. Seems as though he's fallen off quickly. Now Tyler Murray leading this race 22 laps ago from New Hampshire. Vazzuti still trying to chase Tyler Murray down, but it has not necessarily fared well. The driver of the 75 is maintained within half a second. Here's a long list of cars down to about 7th place to Brandon Gillis. For most, it hasn't really been in sort of that same vein, running single file, just trying to hold on to the end of this event. And remember, even in the final 20 laps of this race, we can still get a yellow flag out of nowhere. We've seen a lot of them quick. We've seen a lot of them just taking one car. So one car is all it takes to bring a yellow out. There's Vazzuti out loose off turn 4, just trying to get him out any amount he can. The gap is growing as a result. 20 laps to go from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And what for Tyler Murray has been an up and down season. Has had some fairly good results and fairly unworthy results. Has struggled, has been involved in wrecks a couple of times, but has also been the benefits of top 5s, top 10s, and for Murray it has been significant. And for any driver here within the top 5, it is significant to grab away this win, and you want to be there. Remember, Murray had come into this race a little bit back in points, around the top 10. He was sitting 6th in that point settings. Vazzuti was sitting all the way back in the 11th spot. So both of these drivers having semi-decent runs, but a win here could really change the trajectory of their season as they dip into Talladega, had that win under their belt. And speaking of the battle for the lead, it is now starting to heat up again over the course of the long run with 18 laps to go, now 17 to go at the line. Vazzuti has gained all of that lost time. Was at a high of 0.6 seconds. It's now under half a second with 0.350 that last time by, and he's been able to crawl himself back up over the longer run. I did say on that last restart it was going to be a semi-long run to finish this race if we don't get any yellow flags to finalize this one. So tire saving and saving your race car underneath you is a big factor into how you can hold on to the rest of this event and take away the win. You have to be precise. If a yellow comes out, you may have some of that ample time to go back down pit road to win the race off and then be on fresh tires, not have to worry about as much saving the tires. You're running on board with Nicholas Vazzuti heading off turn 2, just a little bit loose there, and now he's losing time as a result. Gap to Kyle Benson has grown significantly and has not necessarily been enough. So for now, at least the battle between them have become obsolete for the battle for the race lead, unless we have that designated yellow flag to bring us under those conditions. But as for now, it has not necessarily come out. Nobody has been involved in any incident so far. 15 laps to go for the Magic Mile in the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Murray is still out front by a handful of tenths. That pressure still is mounted. The 75 of Vazzuti has not been able to walk away with the lead just yet. Murray has. It's allowed Vazzuti to keep him in sight. So at least not necessarily closing in the gap and not necessarily being to the inside and going for that position just yet. However, he has kept him in his crosshairs. So it could be enough to force the 8 into a mistake, push Vazzuti up the track, or push Vazzuti further down the track, push Murray up the track, and enable Murray to fall to second, enable Vazzuti to take over the lead and possibly take the win from the pole tonight. Vazzuti said the fastest time, and that last time by are now coming to the line. We'll see what happens. Often in terms of the time comparison, it's now relatively equal between Murray and Vazzuti. Vazzuti was just a little bit faster. Murray a little bit up the track allows Vazzuti to come back out of turn 2 with 13 to go. That last time by, Vazzuti was just almost 1 full tenth faster, about 8 thousandths of a second, or 8 hundredths of a second rather. Out of that time, 30.953 for Murray, 30.876 for Rizzuti that last time by. So he is surely still there, and he is still faster by almost a full tenth that time by. Murray's certainly feeling the pressure in this long run. 12 laps to go off turn 2. And now it's going to be a question whether Rizzuti can mount that charge or whether you use the bumper. We've seen it before, the bumper being used for the win, including Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch a couple of years back, where they had been fighting for the lead in the final segments. Harvick put that bumper and he was able to snap the race win away. We could find ourselves in a semi-familiar position there in the final 10 laps. As Rizzuti using the lane a little bit higher to gather some momentum. And so far it is working, as they've gapped up third on back. So if we do not get a yellow, this is the battle for the race lead. Right to the back bumper up the track, trying to get the arc off the corner. Rizzuti is there to the back bumper. And there's a block. There goes the 8, hard into the outside wall. Contact with Rizzuti, but we stay green in the final 10 laps of this race. What has happened? Rizzuti now with damage. Does he have engine damage? And could that allow Kyle Benson to sneak the race win away? Oh my goodness, what has happened there at the back straightaway? We'll take a look here. This was going out of turn 2. Murray had checked up as Rizzuti had made the move to the bottom. Here it was as Murray got loose, chased the car back down, got hit by the 75, goes into the outside wall. And a strong run for Murray goes up in smoke and gets left in the dust as no yellow flag. 9 laps to go from New Hampshire. But now it's not necessarily over. Rizzuti has damage. He slowed significantly. And this has allowed Kyle Benson to reel him back in with 8 laps to go. This is far from over from New Hampshire. And we could have a potentially hurt race car for the driver of that 75 Ford Mustang. Can't necessarily say whether Rizzuti will be able to hold on for the race lead. And just comparing the lap times once again, that last time by, Benson was about a 10th faster, almost a 10th faster. So for Rizzuti, it's now, he's in the same place as he was the last time by. And this is going to be tough. Final 6 laps of this race. Launsager also is catching up. Don't forget, Launsager's done a fair job of keeping himself within the top 5. He's been kind of sneaky there. I haven't really talked about him much since they've pulled away. But Launsager could still be in this fight if these top 2 get into some sort of tango. And Launsager could also steal a win if anything happens up front dramatically. And gap has now decreased. It was at a high of 0.7 seconds, almost about a second or two. We'll just try to see whether Rizzuti is able to hang on with that damage. 5 laps to go. Doesn't necessarily seem to be too affected to the front end of that car or to the engine, but maybe that will help, will at least keep him worse off the corner. He's been loose off turn 2 a handful of times the last time by. It has not been easy for the driver of the 75. And now 4 laps to go from New Hampshire. Riding on board with Rizzuti. He'll try. He has not been able to get the arc off turn 2. It's fairly low down the track, but Benson able to hold strong. 0.3 seconds. This is the time. You have to make those moves. You have to make that gap up now, or else it'll be way too late. On board now off turn 4. And here's the run off the corner. Launsager, we got a caution with 3 laps to go and I believe it was. Saw one driver spinning. That's Jaden Gimbel, who goes around right in front of the leaders, and we have put ourselves into green-white checkered territory in the final laps of this race. Can you believe it? To the end now. We'll take a replay. And it was off turn 4 where he got into trouble. And again, just like I've seen it and said it before, a single car incident, spinning off turn 4. Gimbel loses it, trying to put the gas back in. And goes right to the inside. I believe saw one car. Maybe go around, but I don't think anybody else did, as he was heading out of turn 4 and saw the leaders go by. You see everybody go by here at this point. But now everyone's down pit road. Benson misses his pit box right at the entrance of pit road. That's going to hurt a lot of time for the Ford Benson, even more so. And he is stuck it in the reverse and trying to plant his car in a pit road. And this is going to hurt significantly now, trying to fix it over. Vizzuti out of pit road first. Steenbachers is out second. Bishop out third. Rosner fourth. And Kyle Benson, a detrimental mistake on pit road, sets him all the way to 8th here. And this might be over for Benson. On the final restarts, final laps of this race, Craig Launsager, Pete Bruni have stayed out on the track. Possibly an attempt to win this race just by staying out. And this is an unbelievable turn of events to cap off the 6th race of the 2021 Full Wide Racing Cup Series from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Don't believe Launsager or Bruni will attempt to go down pit road, so this might just be the final call for them as for now. Now we'll just see exactly. This is going to be we'll set ourselves up with 3 laps to go from New Hampshire with old tires at the head of this field. Craig Launsager and Pete Bruni will lead us to the green flag. First time we see Bruni up the top 5 all night long. Launsager with a chance to run away with a late race victory. Vizzuti and Steenbacher will be the next one on fresh tires in 2nd or 3rd and 4th rather. And this will be tough. Maybe a run out of turn 2 can set them up for the race lead in the final laps. They have enough time to catch up. Christopher Bishop, Ricky Rosner, your row 3, Brandon Gillis, Kyle Benson, Tyler Werner, Jaden Gimbel, and Tyler Murray. Final 11 drivers that are still on the track to end this race. Pace car going to make its left and what might be the final restart of the evening if we get no yellows from here on out. Launsager and Bruni off turn 4, and they will lead us back to the green flag in the final segment of this race. Up and away goes Launsager. Vizzuti left to charge, and now it's all dependent on these final 2 laps to get it done, or whether we get another yellow from here on out. We'll just have to see. We saw Bishop up the racetrack heavily. They're 3 wide for position. They keep it clean. Vizzuti now on the charge, and they're wrecking now behind. Will we have another yellow to bring us out? Yes, we do. Another green-white checkered in the cards. And what seemed to be the end of this race has grown a lot more dramatic. Steenbacher's around. We'll get a replay. It happened right in front of us on the back straightaway. Contact with Peter Bruni. You see right there, almost 4 wide off the corner. Bruni with nowhere to go, and then Steenbacher shifts up the track. Even more contact further behind between Benson and Ricky Rosner. I think they also got a piece off pit or off turn 2. You see Benson there down the track, trying to split the middle where Bishop was, and then hard on the wall went Rosner. And that was enough to bring our yellow once again. Question is now, will anybody go down pit road? Answer so far is no, but this puts Lonsarger at a big disadvantage, considering the fact that he is on 30-lap old tires, 28 laps older than the drivers right behind him. So it will be significant to the end of this race. No one to go green signal, so we'll stay under yellow for now. And we'll take a break to bring us back to what might be the final restart of this race. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coming up from the 4-Wide Racing League from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You're watching it right here on MaxSpeedTV.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it goes for Wayne Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Right again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes, side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all he's worth here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to goal.
Back live from the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Under another yellow so far, but with a chance at a green-white checkered. Craig Lonsarger on 30-lap old tires will have one more shot to defend against Nicholas Vizzuti, Brandon Gillis, and everybody else on fresh rubber. And this could be the prime position for Vizzuti to take the race lead and spoil it. Nobody in the top 4 has won a race this season. They have a shot to do just that. The only driver who has won one, Tyler Werner, sits right at the edge of the top 5. Going into 3 and 4, well, it might be the final time. We'll see if they get any incidents after then. However, we'll just have to see. Lonsarger on the old tires could get the jump. Vizzuti on the outside. Pace car to pit road. Early jump by Lonsarger with 2 laps to go from New Hampshire. How long will it last? And back to turn 1. Gillis up the racetrack all the way to the wall. Tried to dive it to Vizzuti, but it was not enough. More contact with Pete Bruni. They're 3 wide behind. Will they get into incidents? No, they will not. Final time, or second to last time, around 3 and 4. Here comes Vizzuti with a head of steam. Now to the inside with all the grip off turn 4. Side by side, almost contact. Lonsarger gets turned around. Gillis up to the outside wall. Do we have a yellow? Yes, we do. And right as they were approaching the white flag, chaos erupts and again put us into another green-white checkered attempt. And that was right to the white flag. There was no other way to say it. They were battling for the lead as Vizzuti had dove it deep into 3 and 4, all the way to the bottom with all the grip on his tires. Then just slides up the racetrack right here, almost gets into the 13, but then fully gets into 13, sends him loose, and then just brings him around. That was enough. I believe also Brandon Gillis had brought himself loose off the corner. No help for him. Just a single car incident. Another time we see that from Gillis in the same angle, same place. And Lounsauger and Gillis might be out of this one for sure. And now Tyler Warner gets brought up to the top 2. Boy, this has been a wild race. It has turned on its head. Lots of yellows to open this race. Longer green flag runs with some amount of yellows in the middle. And now more yellows to bring us out. We've had more than 10 tonight. We'll take a look back at our race summary. We've had 14 yellows, 40 caution laps, 21 lead changes, and of course the obvious, 3 to go. So now it's everybody on fresh tires. I don't think we have to concern about drivers who are running on older sets of tires. We'll have everybody clean here. However, it is drivers that we've seen at the front of this field now have a shot to bring it up again. And now Bizzuti, who led this race from the pole to start, will bring us back under the green flag. We'll see if we get the 1 and green signal this time, and we probably should, or maybe we'll go at least one more time around. I think everybody has gotten themselves situated, so actually no, we'll stay under yellow, and we'll wait again to get a 1 to green signal to possibly go for the final restart. And this could be our final attempt. There are 3 green-white checkered attempts here. So we've wasted 2. I believe we've wasted 1. Actually, no, we have wasted 2. So this will probably be our final attempt. And if we get a yellow flag here, I believe that will be signified as the end of the race. Field will be frozen, and whoever was the leader at the time of yellow will be determined the winner here for race number 6, the 2021 4-Wide Racing League. Take a look at your top 3 at the top of your screen: Bizzuti, Warner, and Steenbachers. And remember, talked about Warner winning at Daytona. The only driver in this field over the course of the night that has won a race in this season could go for a second and tie James Holzer for wins, for all-time wins in this season so far, 2021. And for everybody else, it'll be a look at getting their first. Should get the 1 and green signal. Now this time by the pace car, everybody is doubled up. We'll run through the field one more time. Nicholas Bizzuti in first, Tyler Warner second, Ryan Steenbachers will line up the top 3 with Kyle Benson in the outside of row 2, Christopher Bishop in the inside of row 3, Ricky Rosner in 6th, Brandon Gillis in 7th, Craig Lounsauger in 8th, Pete Broody in 9th, Jaden Gimble should run out the top 10. However, he is listed in the garage out of this race. Tyler Murray is 11th, technically on pit road, or technically at the rear of the field. And yeah, he is actually down pit road, so not necessarily a good night for Murray after spinning to the inside wall. Hard contact. And now we may get put in our final restart of the evening. Mustang of Bizzuti, Camaro of Tyler Warner to bring us back to the green flag with 3 laps ago. It'll be 2 when they cross the stripe. Pace car makes its left once again. Bizzuti, will he get an early start? He does. We're back under green for what might be the final time this evening. And back to turn 1. Steenbachers has the head of steam back to the first corner under Tyler Warner. They're drifting up the track. Bizzuti with enough time to escape so far. 3 wide for second as Benson looked his nose under. Not enough space to go back down. Warner will head back to second. Maybe our final time in a 3 and 4 as the 75 heads back up the track, back out of turn 4, and he'll take the white flag. 1 more mile of magic around the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Bizzuti looking here for his first win this season. One of the most dominant drivers all night long, had led the majority of this race and started this race on the pole. Warner trying to mount up a final charge, heading into 3 and 4, but the gap might be too significant. Final time into the flat banking in 3 and 4. Warner dives it deep, but no way through. The Valage Place music car of the 75 of Nicholas Bizzuti will hold on to win and take his first win in the 2021 4-Wide Cup Series season here at New Hampshire in a final rush to the finish. It took 2 restarts and a hold off from everybody behind to win. Tyler Warner comes home second, and Ryan Steenbachers rounds out your top 3. Kyle Benson finishes the 4 car in P4 with Craig Lounsauger behind. to finish in the top 5. And there he is, Nicholas Vizzuti at the top of the field. He will take away the win and burn it down here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What a drive it was for Vizzuti. He'll be able to celebrate, almost sagging the outside wall there just a little bit. And there he'll celebrate right up the wall, and right as he deserves so. That first win for his season comes here tonight as he celebrates down the front straightaway. Now we finally have a winner here from New Hampshire after a bunch of chaotic restarts to bring us there. And now Vizzuti with enough time to burn it all the way down. What a drive. Well, the driver of the 75, we've seen him pull up good results in these races. Well, now he has finally a trophy to show for it here at New Hampshire. Take a look at your full field results. So take a look all the way from first all the way to the 13th driver. Nicholas Vizzuti, his first win comes tonight here at New Hampshire. Tyler Werner, enough to hold on for second, 6/10 behind, with Ryan Steenbacher's capitalizing your top 3. Kyle Benson will go up to the 4th position to end this race. Craig Launsager will round out the top 5. Christopher Bishop, an up and down night, lands him 6th at the start finish line to end this one. Ricky Rosner 7th. Brandon Gillis finishing in the 9 car in 8th after crashing in one of the starts. Pete Bruni 9th, and Jaden Gimel 15 laps down to round out this top 10. Tyler Murray, Roman Long, and Richard Rico, though, will round out your top 13, and every single driver to finish this race from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Maybe enough time to speak with the driver of the 75, and here he is in victory lane from New Hampshire, Nicholas Vizzuti, your first win in this season. And talk about a wild segment to the end. No yellows in that final stretch. You had a moment with Tyler Murray, had that damage to your front nose, held on to the lead, and then all of a sudden chaos erupts. Green-white checkered finishes to end this one. How did that look from your perspective? It's Nicholas Vizzuti. You got a copy? Hey, Nico, you got a copy here up in the booth?
Hey, sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties there.
That's all good. Well, certainly a wild race here in New Hampshire, and talked about that final segment where you and Tyler Murray were running for the lead, got into him, you had that damage, and you fell back a little bit, but you were able to hold on to the lead, and then all of a sudden, everything breaks loose, cautions out of nowhere, green-white checkered finishes. Walk us through how that was from your perspective to hold on to this win.
Yeah, we had a lot of adversity, actually. We wound up going to the back twice, once from getting really loose and then once from speeding on pit road. So we came back pretty well to get near the front. And then on those last runs, both with Murray and Benson behind me, I was hoping that it would stay green. I felt like we were in a good position there. So I wasn't super happy to see those cautions come out. But you know, all's well that ends well.
It certainly ended well for you, and you started on the pole, and you end up in this win. And what has been a season of consistency for you, and you went into this race 11th in the point standings, and now with this win on your back, how good does it feel to know that you finally have a checkered flag in your hands for this season, and you're able to carry on the rest of the season knowing you had this win and this momentum on your side?
It feels really good, man. To be honest, there's a lot of great drivers in here. I know week to week, we're not typically quite as fast as a lot of those drivers. So I tend to focus on consistency, let other people make mistakes, and try to capitalize on those mistakes. And that usually winds up getting us some good finishes, you know, not always competing for the win. We did miss a race this year, but just getting a win this year is a huge monkey off my back. I had one last year, but you know, we had a lot of new competitive drivers come in, and I wasn't sure I'd be able to get one this year. So just super happy to have it, especially this early in the season.
Well, you finally do win race number 6, and you're able to celebrate right here from the Northeast and Loudoun, New Hampshire. Before we let you go from victory lane, is there anyone you'd just like to thank? Any teams, sponsors, or anyone else that makes it happen for you here in the sim and in this league?
Yeah, I'd like to quickly apologize to the 13 Craig Lautenschlager. I'm not sure what happened there. I got to watch a replay. Also want to give a shout out to my mom and dad who watch every week, asking me questions, trying to get into racing. and Village Place Music, my sponsor. So if anyone out there has children or themselves happen to be studying trumpet, go ahead over to vizzuti.com and you can find some great resources there for trumpet.
Well, Nick, we certainly appreciate the time, and of course, our congratulations go out to you. Your first win of the 2021 season comes here at New Hampshire, and now we look forward. I think now that you have this one at your back, it probably means a lot better news knowing you're going to Talladega next week, where everything can break loose in a matter of seconds there. So, congratulations, and we'll see you over from Talladega, Alabama, just in a week's time.
Indeed. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And that is Nicholas Vizzuti, driver of the number 75 Village Place Music Ford Mustang. Hell holds on to the race win, his first win in 2021. And we'll creep over to the driver of the 33, the driver who has won a race already this season, but a second place finish will certainly do so for the 33 of Tyler Werner. We'll bring him in on pit road into the broadcast booth. And Tyler, will come up with you second place finish here in New Hampshire in what has been sort of an up and down race for you. You started 13th. All the way in the rear of this field at the dead end, and you were able to claw your way through about top 5. You maintain yourself there, and then in the final segment, you had a shot at the race win. How did this one go for you? How was the car really feeling through the final segments of the race? Because you guys had all fresh tires, and it was all just about the final laps to the win. What was really going through your mind when that was happening, and how did you expect it to go?
Car really got better towards the end of the race. Just seemed like kept learning more and more as the final stage there went on. Felt like we could just push it to the absolute limit. Then unfortunately, when Kyle, I think he might have got loose there, kind of lost him in my triple monitors, the pillar part, and really didn't see him, so I kind of got loose and then hit the wall and then came back down and hit him. That was kind of the unfortunate part. Then my monitors decided to frame out a little bit and went from 3 screens to 1. So I was pretty much racing with some tunnel vision there for a few laps. And then luckily we had a caution so I could hit the key to bring him back up. Somehow salvaged it up to second place with all that happening.
You certainly come up to second, and with a win in this season, I was only talking about through this race that you had been pretty much the only driver in this field to have at least one win in the season apart from the rest of this field. But for second now, not only do you get a good finish out of this, but you get a lot of good points over James Holzer, who did not attend this race. How much of a momentum boost is this for you guys, knowing that you guys were 16 points out of it coming tonight, and now you guys might have a shot to close in that gap even further?
That feels really good, honestly, to know that we can kind of close that down. My last couple of races haven't been the best due to some connection issues with my computer, where it ends up kicking me out of the race, and then I end up a couple laps down and somehow just salvage it from there. So it's nice to make some good points tonight and kind of make up for those issues that have been happening early on so far.
Well, you certainly do, and you finish here second coming out of New Hampshire, going into Talladega next week. But before we let you go, Tyler, is there anyone you'd just like to thank, any team sponsors or anyone else you'd just like to give the love and shout-outs to for tonight's finish here in New Hampshire?
I'd like to congratulate Nick on the win. That was a pretty strong drive he had tonight. And just a big shout-out to everyone at Big Fast for always coming out and being in the chats together. And definitely you for broadcasting, that's for sure.
We certainly thank you for your support, Tyler. Congratulations on your second place finish, and now we'll look forward to the Super Speedway. You'll be able to defend a Super Speedway win with maybe another one when we come to Talladega next week. So we look forward to seeing you and the Big Fast guys over there. But congratulations on your second place finish here from the Magic Mile.
Thank you.
And that is Tyler Werner, driver of the 33 machine, and the driver who comes home second at the end of it all. We'll get our final interview driver, and the driver who finishes just inside the top 3. It'll be the 79 of Ryan Steenbachers, ending his way third at the start-finish line after what was a crazy race for him as well. A roller coaster evening for the 79 of Ryan Steenbachers. And for you, I'd say also, along with Tyler Werner, a roller coaster evening. Had found yourself one lap down at one point in this race, but with the yellows, with the circumstances, you crawled your way back up to the lead lap, and you ended up in this top 3 coming to the checkered flag. And in that final segment, what were the keys there to get some of that speed? Did you find any of it, and what more did you need to maybe gain some time on the top 2?
I would just say using the bumper, not being afraid. Everyone was starting to trade paint in the last couple of laps, and it was eat or be eaten. So it's just kind of try not to be dainty with the car, knowing there's only a couple laps left, being a little more aggressive than usual, and just hoping it all sticks.
And you got it to stick there in the final laps there. But this was a testament to the 4th short track race of this season. And we probably didn't expect maybe New Hampshire to be the first one out of a lot of the other ones that we will see in 2021. But from your experience here tonight, what can you take away from this race that'll maybe prove a factor into maybe some other tracks that are flatter, and maybe perhaps Phoenix, or maybe even the other short tracks, to give you some of those tidbits that you'll know and you can put into practice when you go to those short tracks in just a couple of weeks and for the rest of the season?
This might sound a little off, but just hanging in there was the big one tonight. Just hanging in there. It's short track racing, and when you really think you're out, you might not be, and just staying with it and learning as you go was probably the biggest thing for me. As I was able to get near faster cars, I was able to learn off faster cars, and the more tire data I received, the more I could try and work the car to work with the tires, really. So if I could take anything away from racing here at Loudon, it's learning on the fly and staying in there as we go forward to more short tracks.
Well, the resiliency paid off for you and the driver of the 79, a nice Ford Mustang also to know on the racetrack tonight. But nonetheless, going into Talladega, before we get out of here in the Northeast, is there anyone you'd just like to thank? Anybody, any team sponsors, or anyone else that makes it happen for you on the sim and in this league?
I was pretty solo tonight, but I'd like to thank Tyler Murray for doing my paint scheme, and I'll just throw out my company. It's Summit Plowing Inc., and it's just a trucking company in Ottawa. So other than that, it was a great race, and it was fun racing with with some guys, and it was competition was tough, and I had a lot of fun.
And you persevered from it. 3rd place from Loudon. Congratulations on your podium finish here from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And now I think everybody has their eyes on Talladega. Wild race, wild place. It'll be certainly a lot of fun. We hope to see you there, Ryan. Congratulations on your finish, and we hope to see you next week coming for the 4Wide Racing League.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I hope to see you in the booth after Talladega.
As Ryan Steenbacher's finishing in the top 3, finishing in 3rd in his Ford Mustang. Technically a Ford sandwich, if you would call it. Chevrolet Camaro in the middle. Tyler Werner finishing 2nd, and then a little bit of a Ford sandwich. Vizzuti and Steenbacher's finalizing this race. And you see Vizzuti there still parked, and driver winning this race and taking his first win of the season. But as aforementioned in the interviews, next week we will head to one of the biggest and baddest tracks of them all, the Talladega Super Speedway, for the round number 7 of the season. Still in the regular season, but nonetheless, we'll still bring all of the chaos. Coverage for that race will begin next Wednesday, March 10th at 9:10 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can find all the broadcasts for the 4Wide Racing League in 2021 right here on MaxSpeedTV from here on out to race 1 all the way to the finale when we crown a champion. But for now, from New Hampshire, congratulations to Nicholas Vizzuti. His first win of the season comes here tonight at New Hampshire in a final 3-lap dash to the finish. Big credits to all the officials and everybody in the race council that make things possible. Tyler Murray, Nicholas Vizzuti, Craig Launsager, and Austin Reedy. Everybody who makes it happen, all the drivers who attend each and every race. And from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, in the booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno saying good night from New Hampshire in the Northeast. We move to Talladega next week where things will get wild.